Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, cybernetic beings sent back from the future to save and or kill Sarah and or John Connor or Danny Ramos. Those that don't tick any of the boxes above. Welcome to Life Lessons with Crazy Uncle Dick. The following episode is recorded by an adult using adult language. If you don't like explicatives and invectives, you might want to pass on this episode. Thank you in advance. Okay, third time's the charm. Let's see if this actually works this time around. Just playing around a little bit. Thank you to Joe Bachman for granting me access to his StreamYard to go ahead and try using StreamYard to go ahead and do this. I know technically it's not late night ruminations. It's just merely mid-evening ruminations, but you'll forgive me as it feels like I've been up for a month of Sundays. Just tired and not tired enough to go to bed. Figured I'd poke around and play and see how things work and if I can actually figure out this crazy StreamYard stuff doing the broadcasting side instead of just sitting there and riding along in somebody else's car while they're playing the stereo. So anyone who does end up tuning in, hi, how's it going? Welcome. I get to play and actually stream to 3 different places tonight instead of just the normal one. Again, I'm just goofing around, kicking the tires. I'll be rambling about something here in a moment after I'm done biting my tongue. Ow, that fucking hurt. Anyways, so anyways, kicking the tires, trying to see how StreamYard likes me with me being the actual person broadcasting and playing and what have you. Okay, I've been live for a whole 3 minutes now, and it seems so much longer. But just glad to poke around here. And again, thank you again to Joe Bachman for granting me this access so I can go ahead and play and see what the world looks like from this side. So this past weekend ended up going back to my dad's house for the first time since the funeral. We really need to finish getting it cleaned out, get the auction house contacted to go ahead and pull out everything that we're not keeping and figure out what we got to do to go ahead and get the house up for sale. And just get it taken care of because money in the trust is starting to get kind of low. So we need to do what we can to get that taken care of. My sister Brenda's been a champion as far as that goes. She's been the one doing most of the work to get things taken care of in the house. But my sister Sheila, my eldest sister, and then myself have had some medical issues this past winter, so that's kind of stopped us from being able to help as much. And I think we're going to, at least Misty and I are going to be able to help. Well, I'm going to be able to help a little bit more over the next couple of weeks. Misty goes in for a procedure that she should be down for the count for a couple of weeks, starting Wednesday. So a couple weeks to a month or so. So it depends on how she's feeling after all that. Um, because what she's going in for, you know, isn't isn't light. It's she's only gonna be down for 2 to 4 weeks, depending. But it's she's out of work for that period of time, so she's going to be hurting. So Crow and I are going to have to step up and try to take care of her. Instead of the other way around. And something tells me we're going to screw it up royally because we're not nearly as talented as my wife is of taking care of other living creatures. Um, but like I said, it's kicking the tires, testing things out here a little bit. And I know it's not really late night ruminations. It's more, mid evening ruminations, but, you know, there are some topics that are weighing heavy on my mind and heavy on my heart, and I'm going to start blathering on like a total moron because that's what I do best. But like I said, it's this weekend. We were at Dad's on Saturday taking care of some things, and it hurt. My father and I didn't really see eye to eye a lot, but I still love the man. I still miss the man. He is one of the reasons why I'm such the smart aleck that I am. He helped mold and forge my sense of humor into the being that I am. So blame him. Um, and got me thinking, and I've said it before, and I've said it a lot over the past 9 years because it's been 9 years since my mom passed. And that is for the people that you love, make sure that you tell them that. Make sure the last words they hear from you, whether you are leaving the room, leaving the house, leaving the state, leaving the country, leaving the planet. Make sure that the last words that you utter to them are "I love you." You never know when it's the last thing you're going to be able to say to them. And if that's not the last thing you're able to say to them, you are going to so miss the ability to say that. Now I luck out. My mom and my dad both, after they or before they passed, the last thing I had a chance to say to them, the last words they heard out of my mouth were "I love you." So I did get to be there bedside for my father when he passed, but when he passed, there was nobody there. Um, it's the machines and the chemicals they were pumping in him were the only thing keeping his body going. Mr. Asplin had left the building. My mom, I was walking out of the hospital room, told her I love you, and the doctor told us that they were going to pump some liquids in her. She'd be fine. Come back and see her tomorrow. So I went to work. And I got a call at work that mom wasn't coming home from the hospital. Get home now. 1 block before my train let me off, I got the call that mom was gone. That hurts me still to this day, that I could not be bedside to my mother when my mother passed. be sure that the last thing you say to those you love, I love you. Try to make sure it's the last thing I say to my wife and my kids. Try to make sure it's the last thing I say to my grandkids. I try to make sure it's the last thing I say to my sisters, but face it, sometimes siblings are assholes, and sometimes it's not them. Sometimes it's me being the asshole. I'll fully own up to that. But always try to make sure that the last thing that you say to the people in your life that means something to you is I love you. Life is too short, and once they're gone, doesn't matter how bad you want to say it, doesn't matter how many times you do say it, it just, it doesn't feel the same if you can't get that reaction of I love you too. So yeah, I've been in a maudlin mood all weekend because of that, thinking of my parents. The sister that I was working with at my dad's house this weekend is the one that I get along with a little bit better nowadays than I do my eldest. Yeah, although that sister was my first bully, not my eldest sister, my middle sister was my first bully. So a lot of times, people who are a little bit out there, a little bit left field, some folks will say, were you dropped on your head as a child? I always got to say, no, I was not dropped on my head as a child. My middle sister was dropped on my head as a child. So my parents are building the house that my father died in. And I was too small to be able to help. So I had to stay down where my parents could look over the edge and go, okay, yeah, Richie's still alive. And then, they can go on and move on and do whatever they wanted as far as doing more work in the house. My elder sisters were able to be upstairs. I wasn't able to be upstairs because there was no railing in place yet. So they didn't want little Richie just to go and, go crashing to great bodily harm. So the story goes, my middle sister did something to piss off my eldest sister. My eldest sister nudged my middle sister, not realizing how close they were to the edge. And next thing I know, I get woke up by my mom shaking me violently, yelling, "God damn it, Brenda, if you killed him." So, yeah, my middle sister was dropped on my head as a child. And for the record, my sisters are 4 and 9 years older than I am. I'm the baby. That probably explains a lot for a lot of folks that might not have realized I'm the youngest child. But yeah, we were there and pointed out to my sister's new boyfriend exactly where she was dropped on my head as a child. She gets mad at me because every time he comes out, I'll point out another place at the house. I'm like, okay, that's where Brenda pushed me off the balcony. So fun times. And it's funny how 45 plus years later, you are able to joke about things that at that point in time when it happened caused great physical pain and trauma, and many tears. But nowadays I can laugh at that stuff and we can joke about it. And um, hey, I survived. It was the 70s, it was the 80s. I mean, you know, siblings were cruel to each other. Um, we were given a lot more freedoms to test our limits and greater flexibility to see how much damage we could take. Um, hell, I remember being a little kid, being up on the roof with my middle sister standing on the deck, my eldest sister standing in the living room, and my dad standing downstairs with my dad saying, "No, not yet." So I would turn the TV antenna a little bit and then, waiting for, "Oh, no, right there." So we'd have to daisy chain it on up through the top to stop turning the antenna. Back in my day, we had these things called antennas sitting on top of roofs. And none of this buried cable or satellite nonsense. So yeah, it's I remember having to be up there and having to turn the antenna while waiting for everyone to yell, "How's it now? A little bit more. No, too far." Nowadays, something like that happened, and there'd probably be CPS knocking on your door within a couple of minutes. Were you endangering your child by having him outside? Hell, just having your kid outside nowadays for too long and you'll have that knock. It's a much different world than I grew up in, and I don't know. It's a very interesting world. A very interesting world. But I think this is enough of a test. I think I'm probably going to go ahead and end the broadcast here for now, and just see how things look. For the couple of folks that have tuned in, thank you very much, and have a splendid day. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.